These button eyes represent the most terrifying contract ever written in children's literature, and they're hiding in plain sight in Neil Gaiman's Coraline. What looks like a simple children's story about a girl and her creepy other mother is actually a masterclass in predatory manipulation disguised as love. The button eyes aren't just scary imagery. They're a binding legal agreement. Once you understand what that contract actually says, you'll never look at Coraline the same way again. Let's start with what we think we know. Coraline finds a door in her new house that leads to a parallel world where everything seems perfect, a setup that deliberately echoes Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, which Gaiman has acknowledged as a major influence on his writing. Her other mother gives her attention, the food tastes better, and all her problems disappear. The only catch: if she wants to stay forever, she has to let the other mother sew buttons over her eyes, just like everyone else in this perfect world. Here's what most people miss. The other mother can't just force this on Coraline. She explicitly tells her, "Oh, but we need a yes if you want to stay here." This isn't random cruelty. This is a contract that requires consent. And that consent requirement is what makes this story absolutely terrifying. Think about every predatory relationship you've ever heard of. The abuser doesn't usually start with violence. They start with gifts, attention, and making their victim feel special. They create a perfect world where all the victim's needs are met, until the victim becomes dependent on that perfection. Once the victim is emotionally invested, then comes the ask, the thing they have to give up to keep this perfect world. The other mother follows this playbook exactly. The ghost children reveal her method. She spied on our lives through the little doll's eyes and saw that we weren't happy. So she lured us away with treasures and treats and games to play, gave all that we asked. Yet we still wanted more, so we let her sew the buttons. Notice that progression. First, she studies her victims to understand their vulnerabilities. Then she provides everything they think they want. But here's the crucial part. She gives them so much that their expectations inflate. They go from grateful to entitled, from satisfied to wanting more. That's when she springs the trap. Now they can't imagine going back to their real life where things weren't perfect. And the ghost children say they still wanted more, meaning the other mother had successfully created an addiction to her perfect world. When someone is psychologically dependent on you for their happiness, they'll agree to almost anything to keep that supply coming. This is why the other mother needs their consent. She's not just collecting victims, she's collecting souls who willingly traded their agency for comfort. The horror isn't that she's evil. The horror is that her offer is genuinely tempting. Let's talk about what those button eyes actually represent, because it goes deeper than you might think. In folklore, eyes are windows to the soul. Every culture has some version of this belief. When the other mother replaces someone's eyes with buttons, she's not just blinding them. She's severing their connection to their own identity and soul. The symbolism goes even deeper. Buttons are sewn onto clothing to make it functional, to hold things together. When you button something, you're securing it, closing it, and making it yours. The other mother isn't just taking their sight. She's literally sewing them into her world, making them part of her collection. There's also a historical connection here that's genuinely chilling. In many ancient burial customs, coins were placed over the eyes of the dead to pay their way into the afterlife. The button eyes serve a similar function. They're marking these children as belonging to the realm of the dead, to the other mother's world where they can never truly live. Now here's something that'll make your skin crawl. The other mother's form of love. Neil Gaiman wrote, "It was true. The other mother loved her. But she loved Coraline as a miser loves money or a dragon loves its gold. In the other mother's button eyes, Coraline knew that she was a possession, nothing more. This is the love of a collector, not a mother. She doesn't want to nurture Coraline's growth or independence. She wants to own her completely, to add her to her collection of button-eyed children who can never leave, never grow up, never become anything other than what she wants them to be. The other mother represents the dark side of unconditional love. We're told that good parents love their children no matter what. But the other mother takes this to its logical extreme. She loves her children so much that she'll never let them go. She'll keep them safe and happy and hers forever, even if it means trapping their souls. Here's where the contract gets really insidious. The other mother doesn't reveal the full terms up front. She shows Coraline the perfect world, lets her experience what it feels like to be the centre of attention, to have parents who cook her favourite foods and buy her whatever she wants. Even the eccentric neighbours like Miss Spink and Miss Forcible seem more entertaining, and Mr. Babinski's mouse circus appears more magical. She lets Coraline get comfortable, get attached, get invested. Only then does she mention the price. This is classic bait and switch, but it's legal because technically she's not forcing anyone, she's making an offer. Other children can always say no and go back to their real lives. But by the time she makes the offer, going back feels impossible. The real world looks grey and disappointing compared to what she's shown them. The ghost children reveal how this plays out. She said that she loved us, but she locked us here and ate up our lives. Even after they agreed to the contract, even after they let her sew the buttons, they discovered the truth. Her love was consumption, not care. Here's the really twisted part. Once you have button eyes, you can't see the truth anymore. The buttons don't just mark you as belonging to the other mother. They blind you to your own situation. You can't see that you're trapped because you literally can't see. This connects to something Neil Gaiman said about the story's origins. He was inspired partly by The New Mother, an 1882 story by Lucy Clifford, where a mother threatens her misbehaving children. Then I should have to go away and leave you, and to send home a new mother with glass eyes and wooden tail. The idea of a replacement mother who seems better but is actually monstrous has been terrifying children for over a century. Gaiman's genius was making the children complicit in their own replacement. The other mother doesn't come for bad children who deserve punishment. She comes for unhappy children who deserve better, and that's what makes her so dangerous. Let's be honest. What child hasn't felt like their real parents don't understand them? What kid hasn't wished for parents who always said yes, who never got tired or stressed or distracted? The other mother offers to be the parent every child thinks they want, and that's what makes her offer so seductive. The button eyes are the signature on the contract, but the contract itself is written in the language of every child's secret wishes. More attention, better food, cooler clothes, parents who think you're perfect exactly as you are. It sounds like heaven until you realise it's actually hell. A place where you can never grow, change, or become anything other than what someone else wants you to be. This is why Coraline remains so relevant 15 years after its release. Henry Selick's stop-motion adaptation for Leica Studios brought the story to life with haunting visual poetry, and the 2024 re-release became the highest-grossing Fathom Events re-release in history, making over $53 million worldwide. Dakota Fanning's voice performance as Coraline and Terry Hatcher's dual role as both mothers added layers of authenticity to Gaiman's already complex characters. Audiences who saw it as children are now adults, and they're bringing their own kids to see it. The horror at the heart of Coraline, the fear of being owned by someone who claims to love you, never goes out of style. We live in an age of social media algorithms that promise to show us exactly what we want to see, of companies that collect our data to create perfect targeted experiences, of relationships where love and control get tangled up in dangerous ways. The Other Mother's button-eyed world doesn't seem as fantastical as it did in 2009. It seems like a warning. Neil Gaiman spent nearly 10 years writing Coraline, starting when his daughter Holly was 5 and finishing when she was a teenager. He wanted to create a story with a girl as the main character and hero, but he also wanted to explore something darker. The idea that getting everything you want might be the most dangerous thing that could happen to you. The Other Mother's oath is particularly chilling. I swear it on my own mother's grave. When Coraline asks if she has a grave, the Other Mother replies, "Oh yes, I put her in there myself. And when I found her trying to crawl out, I put her back." Even death isn't an escape from the Other Mother's love. Here's what makes Coraline a hero and not a victim. She sees through the contract. She recognizes that the Other Mother's love is possessive, not nurturing. She understands that being wanted and being loved are two different things. Most importantly, she chooses the difficult truth of her real world over the comfortable lie of the perfect one. The button eyes represent the ultimate trade-off: your authentic self for a perfect life, your agency for security, your growth for comfort, your soul for someone else's version of love. That's not just the horror of Coraline. That's the horror of growing up in a world where someone is always offering to make your life perfect for just a small price you won't fully understand until it's too late. The next time you see those black button eyes staring back at you from a poster or a toy store shelf, remember what they represent. They're not just creepy imagery from Leica's groundbreaking stop-motion masterpiece. They're a contract, written in the language of every lonely child's deepest wishes. The most terrifying part isn't that the Other Mother is evil, it's that her offer is so very, very tempting.